Good morning, Robin Wattinger. Morning to Hong Kong from Cape Town. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Nils. Good afternoon from Asia.
How's it going over there? How are you doing? How are things shaping up? And how's your? Let's start with the home office or the temporary office that you find yourself in right now.
Well, right now I'm not in the temporary office, but I can share with you that at least in our household with 3 small kids, that is a rather cumbersome arrangement. But in fact, we here in Hong Kong we've gone through a period obviously of home office, and there's still plenty of companies that do that, but there is not sort of a universal order from the government that asks everybody to stay home. So in fact today, I am actually in the office. I do sometimes take the liberty to work from home because nobody else is in the office sometimes. But we are not forced as other parts of Europe, for example, to stay at home.
Right. Well, that's you've probably been through the eye of the storm. We in South Africa, we are starting tomorrow a very strict 21-day lockdown. Not even allowed to walk your dog, which is
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the situation right now. We'll see how that develops, but it's not great. But then again, I think the whole pandemic is not great. And what's the situation like apart from not having having a strict lockdown in Hong Kong? What are there any green shoots? Is something happening? Are you seeing that the tide is turning, maybe even in small steps?
We thought the tide is turning about 2 weeks ago. It looked fairly good. 1 or 2 weeks ago. We have now again increased imported cases actually. So Hong Kong weathered the storm fairly well for a number of reasons. The Hong Kong government, the Hong Kong people, etc., have gone through several, not just SARS and COVID, but also in between there were a couple of virus infection scares. So people are actually very well prepared. So it looked pretty good 2 weeks ago. Now it looks a bit worse again. Just looking at the number of people that come back from the US, from the UK. Are there green shoots? Yes, in China certainly there are. We always take this with a grain of salt, of course, depending on what the sources are. But anecdotal evidence also from our team in China suggests that rules are being relaxed. But keep in mind they have been under that regime since end of January, so that was at least for 2 months. Here in Hong Kong, I still think people are generally cautiously positive. And with new measures now implemented by the government, particularly treating those arrivals from overseas, and obviously more restrictions at the border, I think that people will become more positive again.
That sounds good. In your view, are there big changes that will take place in the industry post Corona? Because that's really what we need to focus on. I believe that we need to look at when we come out of that horrible situation. What will be in your mind? What would be the big changes?
Well, certainly one thing is just more from an investment point of view. I guess the whole discussion about reassessment of risk. How have we also as consultants in the past worked with certain assumptions, with sort of steady growth rates, with discount rates, cap rates, etc. How do we? It's not the first crisis, obviously, we're in, but it's the first crisis that sort of has this simultaneous challenge of really dealing with immediate action that has to be taken on an asset level, safeguarding people, safeguarding the business, and then at the same time asking ourselves the question: is my business still viable? What is my asset still worth? And sort of the simultaneous situation of that puts certainly a big challenge to everybody in the industry. What will change? We're still early in the process, but I think risk rates, buffers in Asia less so than Europe, but lease coverage ratios, reserves, it will have an impact to all of that. Of course, what we cannot estimate yet is what will be the impact on travel behavior in different countries. How is that going to change? But I certainly expect fundamental changes. On the other hand, I think there's also from a let's say, industry point of view, and if I look here at Hong Kong, for example, where living space is still, traded at an absolute premium, and we have now gone, through about 12. We're not just COVID, but we've had 12 months of crisis mode basically in Hong Kong with the government protests, with all kinds of things, and we are seeing hotels for now, the better part of 9 months basically being empty. And at some point, the government, the stakeholders need to think about how can we repurpose these hotels to still keep them hotels, but also to maybe open them up to the broader public. Topics like conversion into short-term residences and like that. Obviously, how do you deal with that from a contractual point of view, and so on and so forth. I think this will probably be the starting point for the hospitality industry to once again rethink itself and to sort of broaden up their minds to some degree. And I'm convinced that new concepts will come out of this that sort of allow people to allow operators to be more flexible in future for times like this.
Right. Great. Look, we're running out of time, unfortunately, but I quickly want to ask you a couple of personal questions. Physical well-being, what do you do with the restriction that you do still have? There might be more relaxed in other countries, but physical well-being, how do you keep your mind and your body fit in these days?
Same as before. We are not under the same lockdown as you are. So, it's still jogging in the park. It's still, a post-dinner walk with my wife. So, no changes there. Enjoy
it while it lasts. Good for you. Go to food items. Is there anything where you say, because whilst you don't have any restrictions, the stress is still there. Anything where you say, that's what I crave, that's what I really like to have, and that keeps me going?
It's the coffee. But that's nothing spectacular. It's
probably
1 or 2 more cups of coffee a day. The days are a bit longer than usual now, so that's what gets me through the day.
And last, is there something positive that you believe we can take out, not only business-wise, but maybe even personally or societal?
In a bizarre way, I think that at least the world has now a chance to prepare itself for an even more severe pandemic. And I know this sounds awful, but when I said before that here in Hong Kong, we've had SARS, we've had MERS, we've had H5N1, H1N1, swine flu, bird flu, all this kind of things that I think most or many people in Europe didn't even, or in Africa for that matter, probably didn't really see that. So we are seeing this kind of things coming every 2 or 3 years, not to the same extent as we have now, but this sort of virus scare and people walking around with masks, with in some cases much higher fatality rates, but less people infected. But this is not something new necessarily for us here. But my hope would be that if the next such crisis comes, that the world is better prepared. And I think we can see some differences in the way different governments, have been prepared, whether they have dealt with such a crisis before or not. So, it is tragic. It is tremendous what's going on. But there have been worse pandemics in terms of fatality rates in the past. So I would hope that at least that the relevant entities can learn from that, and that will probably be my biggest hope. And of course, there's wonderful signs of solidarity everywhere, and people care, and also here in Hong Kong, people help each other with shopping and things like that. But in terms of big picture, that will be my hope.
Good. Well, I hope that that comes through. Absolutely. I mean, we do, as you know, being part of the team, even though some of the activities that we do fall into your bedtime, like last night's pub quiz that we did. I think there is a sense of coming together and having offices as far stretched as Cape Town and Hong Kong and many others in between. to keep the team going or whatever. So I think that's something which certainly we have learned is necessary. And I think we see it in the streets as well, that people are, putting together and some sense of post-toilet panic buying, toilet paper panic buying,
that too,
sense of community and whatever comes in there. Robin, thanks so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed our chat. I hope the viewers enjoyed our chat, and we're having more of those in the next few days. So thanks very much, and hopefully we'll see you again on PKF Hotel Experts in Conversation With. Thanks, Robin. Cheers.
Thank you, Nils. Bye-bye.